Well, hello again. It's cold up here today. I turned the heat off in the camper so that the furnace wouldn't keep running and interrupting us. So I threw my toque on. And this morning I got looking at JW.org. That's kind of what I do every day. I just check out their website. And today they put on this article on loneliness, the loneliness epidemic. How can you cope? And before we get into that, I want to talk about loneliness. I was kind of surprised, JW.org, they're putting this on, talking about loneliness, but yet they cause a lot of loneliness. And how do they do that? Well, that's simply by shunning, removing. They call it removing. They used to call it disfellowshipped, but they call it shunning now, and or removing. You get removed. But the action is that you're shunned. That's the action. Could be a noun or a verb. It's a thing, right? You're shunned. It's a thing. When you're removed, you see, before you were disfellowship, now you're removed. But it's a thing. You're shunned, and then there's the action part. You're the shunning. People are shunning you, so you can get removed quite easily. I wasn't disfellowshipped. I just quit going because I didn't agree with the no preaching order. They told me I couldn't go preaching. And so I quit and I said I would worship God on my own terms. Wrote him a letter. I wrote the Bethel letter and they sent elders over. And the elders seemed to want to come over to my house to catch me doing something, as if I'm having an affair or something. I don't know. But, anyways, I put gates up. I was living on a farm and they couldn't get in without an appointment. And I was never home when they came. I was always working, but they were always looking, trying to catch you doing something. So they have a really good reason to shun you. But in my case, they didn't. They just slowly started to shun me. And then it really became verbal. I was lonely, right? So when you're lonely, what do? I started writing a book, and one of the JWs got wind of it, and then I got demonized for writing this book or books, whatever. They never even read the books. I asked him, he said, "No, I don't have to read the books." The elder or the brother that demonized me. Anyways, that's another story, and you get shunned. And they even went to the point of emailing a northern community to get them to shun me. And when I asked about it, they gave me a cease and desist letter. Illegally, I couldn't pursue this. So I just have to be alone. And you can't talk to your family. All your old friends, my old friends used to call me every once in a while. They quit. You lose your relationships with everyone. And then it's really hard to make new relationships because we become lonely, depressed. A lot of us, some of us start drinking or use drugs, or some commit suicide just because of loneliness. So I was interested to see how JW.org wants to talk about loneliness. Um, let's look at this just for a bit here. Okay, well, here's their article. I'll come on the screen. I won't do this with, you don't have to do this alone. The loneliness epidemic, how can you cope? Well, they don't say much. It's kind of hypocritical here, what they're saying. They're just quoting some facts. Approximately half of the US adults report loneliness, with high rates among young people. The World Health Organization has announced a new commission on social connection to address loneliness as a pressing health threat, promote social connection as a priority, and accelerate the scaling up solutions in countries of all incomes. So then they get into the Bible offers practical advice, reduce activities that isolate you from others, such as social media, look for occasions to engage with people in person and make true friends. You see, they used to do Zoom. A lot of this is people were Zooming in, but they don't do Zoom anymore unless it's for special circumstances. And it's not like you can visit, really. You're just hooking up to the kingdom hall. Bible principles, they show a true friend shows love at all times. But if you lose all your true friends, you thought you had true friends and you lost them all, why even throw this scripture out to us? Like all of us that are left the organization for one reason or another, we lost it all. Here they're telling us a true friend. It's very hypocritical, in my opinion. And then they say, look for opportunities to help others, doing kind deeds. Well, that's what non-depressed people do. That's like, like JWs do that. We're shunned. We can't. We just didn't agree with stuff, so we left. I didn't agree with their blood transfusion rule, among a bunch of other stuff. But you get shunned just by walking away. I didn't go out and proclaim anything. In fact, when someone wanted to study with the JWs, I directed them to the JWs. I had no ill feelings, but yet I got shunned because I walked away. I got demonized because I wrote a book. The JW org should really be ashamed of themselves for even putting out an article like this. They cause loneliness. And you can't get back in unless, what are they saying? There's more happiness in giving than receiving. Well, lonely people are sitting at home in the dark. And then they have articles like, why don't I have any friends? Well, because JW org shunned you. They removed you. They took all your friends away so they could control your friends into shunning you. A lot of your friends might not even know why they're shunning you because the actions aren't announced. Like if they announce me, they don't know what the situation is. Some people might assume it's adultery or fornication. It depends how they want to spin that in their heads. But you see, they just announced that you're removed, along with all the murderers and fornicators and everyone else. You're removed. In my case, I was disassociated. That's a word they used to have, but it's the same thing. You're removed. Mm. So then they talk about how to deal with isolation when you're shunned. No, like you see, in my opinion, this organization does not have the freedom of speech to talk about this stuff. How social media affected me. Shun people, that's all they have left is social media. What's a real friend? And why should I help others? You see, this doesn't answer any of the questions of isolation. I think I think JW.org failed on this broadcast. They failed in this article. They're hypocrites. Well, let's talk about shunning. Let's talk about shunning. Let's talk about loneliness. But before we talk about loneliness, I'm going to get out of the JW.org page. I'm going to open the windows in my little camper here and pause it for a bit. You won't notice a difference, but I will. I'm going to turn the heat on. Okay, let's see in a bit. Okay, well, here we are. The sun's out. It's kind of nice out today, actually. It's above zero. I don't even know if I need this light. There. Now we have no glare. This is just a natural sunlight. A big difference. I got all the blinds open and it's bright outside. It feels good. It puts a smile on your face. So now I want to talk about, we talked a little bit about JW.org. I think they really failed in that article. They didn't really teach anything. They're the cause of loneliness in a lot of senses. They've disfellowshipped a lot of people, created a lot of lonely people. People can't even associate with their loved ones, relatives. You can't associate. You can't have Thanksgiving dinner. You can't have a dinner at all. You can't do anything unless you want to go back and become one of them. You see, that's the virus that they're in. It's a virus, and I congratulate all of you guys out there that got out. Now, here's how you can deal with loneliness. One of the greatest benefits of spending time alone. Let's look at the positive benefits. It can help you develop a better understanding of who you are. And the better you know yourself, the more likely you are to do things that you love, learn things that interest you, and spend time with people that make you feel good. Right? Isn't that what we're doing online? We get online into some of these online communities and we can spend time with certain communities, certain people that make us feel good. Now, how much time alone is healthy? It says here the amount of time alone you need each day can vary based on your personal needs, lifestyle. Start with 30 to 60 minutes a day for activities like reading, meditating, or simply sitting quietly, listening to your body and mind. If you feel refreshed and recharged after your alone time, then you're likely getting enough. So there's nothing wrong with a bit of alone time. Now, here's the question: is it good to be alone all the time? What do you think? Well, alone time is a healthy way to recharge and de stress and recenter yourself. Loneliness is unwanted mental or physical isolation that can negatively impact mental and physical health, sleep, cognitive abilities. However, lack of alone time can affect your mental health too. So you see the difference. A little bit of alone time is good, but too much of it creates a syndrome called loneliness, especially at night. And that's what I found when I left JW Org. I had to leave everything. I had to leave my marriage, everything. And I was alone. And it was hard at night, a lot of anxiety. So if you can, I think coming onto the internet, that's why we run some of these late night programs. If you can hook up, get to know people, it can help curb the loneliness. And there's a couple of things. You can get pets and things like that. Now, is being alone good or bad? Research has found there's real benefits to do things alone. It allows you to enjoy activities you love at your own pace, your own way. And there's also mental health benefits of being alone, enabling you to learn more about yourself, reflecting on yourself. So I know when I left the org and I was alone, I got to reflect on my whole life in the religion. And I actually wrote Bethel, the Canadian Bethel, a 7-page letter. It worked out. And I emailed it to the service desk. And the next day, a couple of elders showed up and wanted to save me, but they didn't even address anything on the letter. And I asked them to leave. That was the end of that. You become now a disassociated person. And that's how they do it. They don't address anything on your letter, serious stuff within their organization. They pretend it didn't happen. And they just want to get you back into their ark, and they feel that their ark is the only place that you're going to get saved. And I told these brothers, I feel safer on the outside of your ark. I said, your ark is dangerous. It's got holes in it. So, is it mentally healthy to be alone? We all choose that when we leave, right? We're choosing to be alone. So learning to be alone can give you space to think about your feelings, your ideas, your hopes, problems and experiences, and it also has a great opportunity to get to know yourself better. So that's important. You can even write a journal, and that's a really healthy way of getting a lot of your thoughts out. And then you don't have to repeat them. If we don't write it down, we're afraid of forgetting it because maybe it's important to us at the time, and it becomes like a record that we play over and over and over again, and it's not healthy. So if you can write that down and say, okay, let's move on. What's the next record, brain? And they'll come, and pretty soon you'll have a book. So that's how it works. It's ultimate. Is it unhealthy to be alone? Well, some studies show that being a loner can lead to happiness for the individual and could actually be good for your health. Some people are loners, right? So is it okay to have no friends? Well, even if you have a few friends or no friends, it doesn't mean that your life is less fulfilling or less valuable. Instead of envying what other people have, celebrate what makes your life special. Focus on your feelings of gratitude for the things you have and love. Again, get a pet. Now, how to tell if certain people are lonely, the inability to connect with others on deeper, more intimate levels, no close best friends, overwhelming feelings of isolation regardless of where you are, and negative feelings of self-doubt and self-worth. So these are things that can happen. Why do I crave being alone? Maybe you crave being alone. Well, if you identify as an introvert, excuse me, you're more likely to treasure your alone time. Introverts often experience overstimulation in social situations like kingdom halls, assemblies, conventions. They just they just can't handle it. I don't like a lot of it. So it says you may find that you need quiet time alone to recharge your energy and feel refreshed again. Is it unhealthy to be alone? Well, here's what we're going to talk about. This is the loneliness epidemic. I plugged it in to the internet, and sure enough, it is a thing, the loneliness epidemic. So let's roll through this. JW.org, I think, didn't do a good job covering it. Here's just a quick search off Google, what it gives you. Is there an epidemic? It says, yeah. Last year, the Surgeon General said it wrote a 71-page advisory about it. And he said, yeah, there's an epidemic. So now they're talking about how to deal with it. Talk to your doctor and therapist. This is a thing on another level. Care professional. Did JW.org tell you to do that? No. They said, look in your Bible. You see, depressed people burn their Bibles. That's what caused them to get depressed. I had a bonfire New Year's Eve, and I burnt every Watchtower bound volume I had. I wasn't carrying any of that around. I kept 2 Bibles, but I'm going to burn them too. Like, I don't need the stuff. It's a twisted Bible. To me, it's like having demonized products in your home. But, that's JWing it a bit. So, what do I know? My wife says don't burn Bibles. So, anyways, people look at things differently. Is loneliness a predicator of a depressed syndrome? Loneliness was again associated with more depressive symptoms. Net the demographic, marital status, social support. Big thing, eh? And that's what you lose when you get shunned, when you get removed, when you get disassociated, get disfellowshipped from the Jehovah's Witness religion. I don't care how they label it. It's you're putting people alone. And then you come out and you put this article out and tell them just go to the Bible and that's going to fix it. That's not how it works, JW.org. You see, how it fixes it is maybe being able to pick up the phone and giving your family member that's in the org a call and saying, hey, how's it doing? I haven't talked to you for 10 years. Yeah, it's nice to hear your voice again. Yeah. Yeah, how's the grandchildren? I haven't seen any of them. Wow. Yeah. When can we get together? Like, wouldn't that be nice? That would curb loneliness, wouldn't it? But you see, when you're removed from the organization, everyone demonizes you. You're worse. You're like the devil. They apostatize you just because you might not believe in dying over their blood transfusion doctrine, right? They'll apostatize you. You're an apostate of their righteous religion. And that's how they do it. So it's bad. Now, what the internet's saying, and the internet has more advice than this trillion-dollar organization, JW.org. You can't get squat out of them on the subject of loneliness. We read it. We looked at it together. But here we go to the internet. It says search for a group on Facebook or on a website. Well, it says meetup.com or call your local community center. You see, there's some really practical advice for people that are lonely. JW.org does not tell you that. They want to send one of their members to your door to curb your loneliness. They want you to go to their kingdom hall to curb your loneliness. You see, JW.org does not have the right to do this, to even publish an article on loneliness when they create mitfolds, and they have created millions of lonely people. They've removed them, disfellowshipped them, shunned them, you name it, demonized them. So now what we have to do on the outside is we have to curb this loneliness. We have to find meetups. We have to find groups. We have to reach out, go to the community center. Depending on your age and situation, it's all different, but we have to curb our loneliness. And we can do things at our work, get involved on a social level at work and not be afraid of it, not demonize it. When we're lonely for too long, here's what happens. It unleashes excess stress hormones, causing an elevated heart rate, and increased blood pressure, and blood sugar levels. Are you experiencing any of that as an exJW? As a person who's being shunned? I have. I've been experiencing all of those symptoms. I have high blood pressure. I had 2 heart attacks. I have to take pills. I have to watch my blood sugar. It's ugly. But slowly we can heal. And I've been feeling better with the online community. It's a place to communicate, a lot of people in the same situation. And it's helped. It's helped. Uh, Loneliness also reduces the number of antibodies we produce to fight infection, and it may make us more susceptible to cancer. You see, JW.org does not talk about this. The health, what happens to our health when they throw people outside of the organization for life. You see, if someone in the congregation was a fornicator, not going back, I could understand, a short period of time to let them cool off. But this lifetime disfellowshipping is nonsense. And they're creating this, exactly what we're talking about. So how does a lonely person behave? Well, they're more likely to distract themselves with other things in their lives. They're going to look for things to do, right? I got involved in work, solar, different things, hobbies, gardening, but we never address any of our real loneliness. We walk around doing all these tasks. We're still alone in our minds. We don't have anybody to share those experiences with. Unless we get married, remarried, re-engage with society outside of the JW religion. That's what I did. I went and got married. I went out country dancing, you know. And that's what it says. Join an online group for people with similar interests, adopt a pet, volunteering for a cause you care about, and joining a support group or signing up for a local book club, or even singing and dancing. All of these things are very good for our minds. I encourage you to keep doing what we're doing. Let's keep reaching out together, talking and sharing our experiences. And when we see these articles that JW.org throws out in front of us, I think it's important that we deal with some of this and we catch them on this, because when they pump out an article like this and there's nothing in it, they quoted a couple of things that they found off the internet, and then they just tell people the Bible. You see, they don't have the freeness of speech to really talk about what I just talked about, because they're the cause of a lot of loneliness. Well, folks, until next time, keep living your life with love. We'll see you on the next video, and that will take away a bit of your loneliness. Bye for now.